Daniel. So this is prophecy, okay? Daniel chapter 9. I'll pull it up on here. If you go to Daniel chapter 9, verses 24 through 25, and we're gonna show you that Jesus fulfills the most precise script prophecy that you could imagine. You know, like it's really incredible what exactly Jesus has done here, and what exactly God has told us in Daniel. It's intense. And I'm going to read this in the Dewey Reams Bible because I think the Dewey Reams Bible really does the best job at making this as explicit as possible. Okay, so 70 weeks are shortened upon thy people and upon thy holy city, right? So what people? The Jewish people, right? And what city? Jerusalem. That transgression may be finished, and sin may have an end, and iniquity may be abolished, and everlasting justice may be brought, and vision and prophecy may be fulfilled, and the saint of saints be anointed. Okay, so vision and prophecy may be fulfilled. So we're looking at a fulfillment of prophecy that's going to be happening in Jerusalem, right? We're also looking at iniquity being abolished, sin and iniquity coming to an end, right? Transgression being finished, right? And that the saint of saints may be anointed. Now, if you look at other translations, it'll say Holy of Holies, right? Which might reference the temple, but we're going to find out that it's not going to be the temple. And you'll see that later, okay? Know thou therefore and take notice that from the going forth of the word to build up Jerusalem again unto Christ the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. And the street shall be built again, and the walls and straightness of times. Okay, so the going forth from the word to build up Jerusalem again. So there's going to be a proclamation that the temple basically is going to be restored. Okay, because at this point, the temple is destroyed. It's not standing. There is no temple, and there's no walls, right? So Nehemiah and Ezra are after Daniel, right? Daniel is in Babylonian captivity right now. There is no temple. There is no Israel, right? And so what's being prophesied is that there's going to be a proclamation to rebuild the temple. And this was done by Artaxerxes. So he says, so you've got this, right? And this says, unto Christ the Prince there shall be 7 weeks. Now, what is a week? A week is 7 years. Okay. So there's 7 periods of 7 years. Okay. So if we take 7 by 7, puts you at 49. So these are 49 years. This is the first chunk of time, right? So there's going to be a proclamation to rebuild the wall. Jesus says, you know, destroy this body, and in 3 days I will build it up. And then the response is, it took us 50 years to build this temple. So there's the temple. It's going to take 50 years to be rebuilt. And then it says, and then there's going to be 62 weeks. So 62 weeks, we're going to take a week again is 7 years. We're going to multiply that by 62. Okay. So that's another time period of 434 years. So if you add that 434 years to that 49-year period that we saw already, from the declaration of Artaxerxes until the coming of the Messiah is 483 years. Okay. That's significant because it's giving you a very exact period of time. And this says, and the street shall be built again, and the walls and straightness of times. What's interesting here, let's see if I can
see. So you got basically 455 is the Artaxerxes is when that started. Okay. And we got the 49 plus the 434 is 483. And then that's how we get to AD 28, which is about the time of Jesus' baptism, because he would have been born in 3 BC. Most scholars agree.
So this is a very, very specific time period that we're looking at, right? It's like stupid specific. It's like, look, man, if the Messiah hasn't come yet, then there isn't a Messiah, you know?
Yeah, you know? And it's interesting to note there's like something that they say is like, well, there's all kinds of people who claim to be the Messiah during this time period. It's like, yeah, because all of them were reading Daniel, and they're like, well, Messiah should be coming on about right about now. Right, so they were all,
maybe it's me.
Yeah, so a lot of them were sort of anticipating a messianic figure at this time, and there were all sorts of conceptions about what it meant to be the Messiah. So you do have people who were claiming to overthrow the Roman government, which is the crime that kind of Jesus got charged with, since he's the king of the Jews.
Right.
He's the king of the Jews. Well, all right. Well, let's get rid of him.
Yeah, let's kill this guy. Yeah, that's
I
exactly
mean,
right. That's exactly right. So
we'll make sure that God's prophecy doesn't be fulfilled. You know,
yeah,
we're smarter than God.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is a very specific prophecy, and I don't know how you can get around this. It's very clear, right? From the
Change
time
the
that
text, like the RSV.
yeah, let's look at that. Yeah. So if you look at the Revised Standard Version, they kind of muddy the waters a little bit and make it seem like the Messiah is supposed to come within within the first 49
years rather than
right?
the 49 plus the 434,
Right.
which is the 43.
Right.
Because again, there are no like punctuations, there's no pointings going on in the text. So the translator is making a judgment call saying, okay, I'm going to make this a period and separate the next idea.
Or
Because
I'm going to make this a comma, right?
yeah, or I'm going to make this like a capital, you know.
Right.
These are all judgment calls being made. The idea is to separate these ideas of 7 weeks and the 62 weeks is the idea of like, let me go ahead and separate these as completely different ideas rather than see them as
having continuity.
Yeah, continuity here between
Yeah.
the two of the 69-week period. This is how you get to AD 28 from the year 455 when this would have been written. So I think that's important.
I've said this already, but if Jesus isn't the Messiah, then there is no Messiah, there is no God, and everything is just a coincidence.
Yeah, and
You know what I mean?
it's interesting that Athanasius, again to kind of bring it back to him, he is drawing attention to this passage, saying, "Look, is it not obvious?" Daniel chapter 9 is here pointing us and staring at us right in the face. And that's sort of a big reputation of his. He's pointing to all the prophecies about the nature of the crucifixion, the idea of him being born in Egypt, the prophecy of the years in which he was going to be born from Daniel. I mean, these are all things that Athanasius is unloading on and saying, look, it's right here. So I think that's really important to really show that this is in the mind of Athanasius, just showing that there really is no one else who could this be. And especially today in the 21st century, it doesn't really make sense. So if you're still waiting for the Messiah, it just doesn't really make sense anymore.